Let's try something radical. Stop asking when it's going to happen for you, and start asking what your waiting season is trying to build within you, because that's the real challenge, staying aligned when nothing seems to move. In this video, I challenge you to look at your delays differently, and by the end, I promise, you'll see the proof that your life wasn't behind schedule. It was right on divine time. Why the waiting season feels heavy, and what it's actually building. Most people call it being stuck. They say nothing's moving, doors won't open, energy feels flat. But what if that stillness isn't a setback at all? What if that pause is the system hitting reset, quietly removing what can't move with you into the next chapter? The waiting season isn't punishment, it's recalibration. It's life slowing your steps so your foundation can catch up with your vision. Nobody likes the pause because it feels powerless, yet that's exactly when power is being rebuilt beneath the surface. See, progress usually announces itself through noise, new jobs, new relationships, new achievements. But the most important progress doesn't make a sound. It's the rewiring happening inside you when nothing around you seems to change. That's what makes waiting feel heavy. You're using all your energy to hold still long enough for your old mindset to fall away. But from the outside, no one sees that process. So you start to think something's wrong with you, when really, something's growing within you. Think about someone who spent months preparing for the perfect job. They went through every interview round, dreamed about that office, could already picture their first day, and then they didn't get it. Everyone else said, maybe it wasn't meant to be, and that never helped, because it felt like the loss defined them. But a year later, they were leading a project somewhere completely different, one that actually matched their strengths and gave them peace instead of burnout. At that moment, the rejection started to make sense. They weren't unqualified. They were just being redirected until their system could support the level of balance that role required. The same thing happens in relationships. You meet someone you think has everything you've been waiting for, and then it falls apart. It hurts because you think you lost potential. But the truth, you lost misalignment. Sometimes life will remove what feeds your wounds so that you can finally heal. Waiting through that space between almost and finally is where emotional regulation forms. You start to understand your feelings instead of being ruled by them. You learn self-trust because you've had to lean on your own voice when silence stretched too long. Those are the kinds of upgrades the external world can't measure, yet they're what make you ready for alignment. It's system thinking at work. Every system has inputs, processes, and outputs. The waiting season is input time, when your inner mechanisms adjust, when data gets cleaned up, when emotional bugs get fixed. We often ignore that stage because it's not pretty. It's repetition, reflection, rebuilding. But without it, the process can't run clean. Think of it like running new software on an overloaded hard drive. You can't force it. You have to clear space. Waiting is your internal defragmentation. Divine timing isn't about the universe teasing you. It's about sequence. You can't receive certain opportunities until the version of you that can sustain them is fully coded. That means the delay isn't punishment. It's protection. Every postponed dream, every no, every silence after a bold step forward is information. You're not out of alignment. The system is still sinking. Losing what you wanted might actually prove you're on track, because alignment deletes what doesn't belong. It looks like chaos right before it becomes clarity. The universe will not let something stay in your life if it would compromise your stability later. That's how precise the system is. The very loss that made you doubt your direction might have been the evidence that your internal algorithm finally started filtering what doesn't fit your frequency anymore. And that means the waiting isn't wasted, it's incubation. A seed can't sprout where there's noise. It needs darkness. That in-between stage you're living through isn't stillness, it's quiet construction. The system is coding new conditions around you, preparing support, aligning people who will recognize your growth the moment the signal clears. Now, if only the signal could stay clear, but that's where we often mess it up, because the minute we start comparing our pace to someone else's, we jam the frequency. We add interference that blocks what was already on its way. That's the next part of understanding this whole process. How comparison turns that smooth internal flow into static and keeps your system from hearing what destiny has been trying to transmit all along. The comparison loop. How misalignment blocks the system. Ever notice how comparing your timeline instantly drains your motivation? That's not coincidence. It's your system losing signal. Comparison acts like interference, a little distortion that slips into your internal algorithm and starts rewriting your focus. What used to be clarity turns into static, and before you even realize it, you're chasing someone else's rhythm instead of perfecting your own. Every scroll, every glance, every moment of, "I should be further by now," feeds that interference until your energy feels scrambled. It's not that you lost direction, it's that your signal got mixed with noise that was never yours in the first place. When you measure your pace against somebody else's, your internal compass starts spinning. It's subtle. Maybe you start adjusting your goals to match trends, or you lower your standards just to keep up with numbers that weren't meant for you. Suddenly, the work that used to feel meaningful feels forced. That's how misalignment sneaks in. You stop moving from intention and start moving from comparison. And here's where it gets tricky. Comparison doesn't look destructive at first. It looks like motivation. It tricks you into thinking, if they can do it, so can I. But underneath, it's pulling your attention away from authenticity and into performance. You're no longer building, you're competing for validation. That instant craving to prove yourself, to post faster, produce more, achieve louder, isn't drive, it's distortion. It's like your system logging false data. You interpret somebody else's winning moment as a measuring stick for your worth. And in that shift, you lose calibration. Think about when you've spent a night scrolling online after a rough day. You see someone launch a business, travel, get engaged, announce a promotion. At first you feel inspired, but a few minutes in, your body tenses. You start calculating. They're my age. They started later than me. What am I doing wrong? That thought spiral triggers desperation mode, not because you really want what they have, but because you feel like you're falling behind in a race you never signed up for. It's like trying to tune a radio station while broadcasting static. You can move the dial all you want, but no matter how hard you listen, the message never gets through clearly. The static is comparison. It distorts your own frequency so that nothing around you resonates. And the irony is, while you're busy decoding someone else's sound, you're silencing your own. Psychology even backs this up. Social comparison theory explains how constantly measuring your progress against others lowers self-esteem and clarity. It floods the brain with conflicting information about what success should look like. That confusion forces your internal system to process corrupted data, which leads to frustration and emotional fog. The more energy you invest in scanning others' timelines, the less you invest in refining your own direction. You can't optimize two systems at once. You either tune into them or yourself. From a systems angle, think of it like running old code. Every time you compare, you import an outdated input. That corrupted data creates processing delays. Your decisions slow down, your creativity clogs, and your output feels off. Then you call it burnout or failure, when really it's just misalignment. The wrong input can't generate the right output. Simple cause and effect. The good news? Systems are self-correcting once interference stops. The moment you pull back from comparison, your internal environment begins recalibrating. Focus shifts back to authenticity, and you feel your energy returning to balance. When you stop needing external proof of progress, your creativity starts breathing again. The static fades. You start hearing your own intuition more clearly. You notice the subtle signs, the right text at the right time, the chance encounter, the small opening that leads somewhere bigger. Flow resumes because your system recognizes itself again. You stop forcing outcomes and start aligning with them. That's when the universe can finally hear your true signal. And that's the turning point, because once you stop broadcasting noise, the external world doesn't stay still. It reorganizes itself. Circumstances shift, people appear, timing clicks. What used to resist you starts responding to you, not because you tried harder, but because the signal cleared. And that's where we're heading next. The moment alignment locks in and everything around you begins to rearrange to match your new vibration. The alignment trigger, the moment, the universe responds. What if the universe isn't waiting for the perfect moment, but just waiting for you to finally send out the right signal? That's the switch most people never notice. They think timing is this external thing, some mysterious force holding out on them. But truthfully, life doesn't stall because it's against you. It stalls because your frequency hasn't settled yet. The moment internal alignment locks in, the system doesn't ask permission. It just starts moving. You can almost feel when it happens. Something softens. You stop needing things to hurry up and start trusting that they'll unfold. But it's tricky, because just before that shift, pressure gets heavy. Many people quit right there, in that space just shy of breakthrough. They think silence means nothing's happening, when in reality, the system is sinking. It's the last moment before expansion, like exhaling, right before inhaling again. The system can't update mid-breath. It has to pause first. That's where impatience sneaks in and makes people abandon processes that were seconds away from resolution. Here's the thing. Once you stop demanding results and start working from clarity, new doors tend to open in clusters. Take a creator who used to obsess over metrics. They posted, refreshed, overanalyzed, and ended every day drained. Eventually, they burned out and took a break. Not the fake kind where you say you're unplugged but still check your phone. A real break. Just creating quietly again, not for numbers, but for nourishment. Within weeks, a small clip they made with zero pressure took off. Not because they tried harder, but because their energy stopped repelling outcomes. Their clarity became input. That new input reorganized everything. Who saw their work, what opportunities appeared, and how their confidence stabilized. In systems language, that's how it always works. Input, process, output. When the input changes from control to trust, the process reorders itself automatically. Clarity and detachment act like clean data. They filter out old errors that used to jam the program. Suddenly you start catching intuitive nudges you used to miss, a message that arrives right when you needed it, a stranger offering exactly the help you were too proud to ask for. That's the process fixing itself. Once the inner architecture is steady, the system must produce coherent output. That output might look like visible success or peace, but it's really an external reflection of updated coding. Divine timing gets romanticized like it's some unreachable mystery, but it's actually mechanical. When readiness meets stillness, patterns sync. Think of a seed. If the soil temperature, light, and pressure align, growth happens automatically. You don't yell at it to sprout. You just nurture the conditions. That's divine timing in action. It's not a reward you earn. It's a natural reaction when the environment matches the design. Most people mistake the shift for a miracle. They call it luck, a sudden blessing, the universe finally giving in. But if you trace it back, the change usually started when they stopped proving themselves, when they let go. There's a difference between chasing alignment and becoming it. The moment you relax into your truth, all the processes that belong to that vibration start snapping into place. You call it coincidence, but the system is just catching up with your command. Take someone who faced rejection after rejection, job interviews, creative pitches, partnerships, all closed doors. Eventually, they ran out of things to prove. They stopped over-explaining, stopped adjusting themselves to be right for opportunities, and finally began refining their craft quietly. Weeks later, one of those same contacts reached out again, different tone, better offer. Nothing mystical about it. The signal changed. Their need to prove had canceled the system. Their acceptance rebooted it. That's what alignment does. It forces the external world to reorganize. The system literally has no choice but to reflect your new settings. And once it starts, opportunities that once felt impossible begin flowing like dominoes tipping over in order. People call it manifestation, but it's more like synchronization. The system reads your calibration and updates its outputs to match. When you understand that, you stop chasing timing altogether. You realize the waiting wasn't wasted. It was updating you, so timing could find you ready. And once that awareness sinks in, something shifts. You look around and feel it. Your time to win isn't coming. It's already unfolding. The moment your inner rhythm aligns with what the universe has been prepared to deliver all along. Your winning moment isn't hiding in the future. It's been active from the second you stopped fighting what's already aligned for you. The universe didn't need convincing. It needed cooperation. Every delay, every closed door, every long stretch of nothingness was sinking you closer to ease, not away from it. If this message found you, it's because your signal cleared. This is your proof that the shift is already underway. Now the only thing left is trust, real trust. Trust your internal timing more than the world's clock, because alignment doesn't rush, and it never, ever arrives late.